All right, welcome back everybody. Continuing on with the interior.
All right.
Tried the pattern thing with this and trying to tape it up here and line the screw holes up, and it worked with paper, but then transferring it back into there just not lining up, and you know that the amount I'm going to be off using a paper template and the amount I'm going to be off just eyeballing it is going to be about the same thing. So I don't think I'm going to take the trouble to go ahead and use the paper template. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and put the wheel arch vinyl on and get all that stuff done like I did over here. You can see that screw there above where the soft top plugs in. There's 4 screws. You can just barely see one in there. There's 4 screws that go around there and plug into these holes, and they just use regular spire clips like I had thought. So that was a pain in the rear, but got that to come around. One other thing I'll point out here, you can see, I think, kind of how the rubber is there. And what had happened was, whoever had the car before me, you can see where the rubber kind of sneaks inside there and gets jammed in and kind of sneaks underneath. They had put the rubber down on top of this and curled that whole lip underneath. And here you can see that big crink right there, and all this rubber is now outside. So that's, I had to pull that out, which is kind of tough with 60-year-old rubber here being pretty hard, but it worked. So again, I'm going to go ahead and get the vinyl down, do all that, and then go ahead and get this wheel arch thing in, get that done, and then I've got a back gas tank cover there. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't get that in. I had mentioned in the last video that I was worried about this piece here getting rolled back as I put the fuzz seal on. So I've got the fuzz seal for the door here, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on and see if I was right or not. If worse comes to worse, I have enough vinyl that I could put a new piece in here, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, so it looks like I'm gonna have to cut the carpet down more because it's not a little too thick for this seal to go on, I think. So, yeah, you can see right here I had it mess up on me a little bit, but otherwise it seemed to hold out all right. I'll probably leave it. But I'm not gonna worry about this now. I'll go back to doing the rest. Man, I don't ever wanna do this again. Pain in the rear. So what I ended up doing this time was just drilling holes. Like I said, this vinyl went much better than the other one did. I don't have any creases. They're all behind. They're all hidden behind this plate here. I started to feed this centerpiece through, and hopefully now that it's under some tension, it'll stretch. But the piece comes around here and it didn't go far enough for me to screw in. Over here you can see how that screws a little bit short. So I think it's just probably over time the thing's shrunk up on me, and it not being in the car allowed it to shrink even further, being sitting out for 4 years, 5 years, however long it's been since I took it off. But the B-post finishers will go in just fine, and it doesn't look too bad. There's some gaps here, and this thing is not clicking in great, but it should be okay, good enough. So like I said, hopefully over some time here, and if it gets in the heat, as the weather gets nicer, it'll hopefully stretch. I don't really want to take the heat gun to it. Anyway, so this is all done. And so I put these 3 in, and then I did the 4 across the top, and then I finished down here. So totally different order than I did the other one, and some lessons learned there. So, but it's not fun at all. I don't ever want to do this again. So I do have some short on the vinyl there. I just noticed that. That's unfortunate. I'm gonna have to fix that. I got a lot of vinyl left from cutting this, so I'm gonna have to put a whole new piece in there, I think. That's a bummer. Oh well. went back through and redid the vinyl strip over here, so now it bends over the door. You really can't see it from this angle. What you see there is the back piece, and this is just, you know, a valance to cover the gas tank. And this is a Newton commercial piece again, and it's nice, but it fits under the this hard rubber seal here, so that's going to be a pain to get under there. The other thing that you got going on here is snaps down at the bottom. You got a hole right there, hole in the center, and then another one over on the other side. You have these pieces. These are original, and they just pop rivet in. Nothing that complicated. And then up here you have these things, and I think they're called Duz fasteners, D-Z-U-Z or something like that. They were used on the TR3s, I know that. But you stick that in there, and then you twist it, and it's kind of like a spring lock thing, and it just kind of locks in to there. There are holes up in the top here. You can just kind of see it half here and half there. That is pre-holed for these, but these didn't come with it. So I'm not quite ready to do this yet because you can see there's a little collar on here, and I'm not quite sure how that collar is supposed to go. I assume it just kind of fits in there, and it just fits in the particle board, but it looks like that's going to be pretty tricky to do, and I'm not quite ready to take that chance yet without asking. So I'm going to skip this step now. And one thing I want to do work on, I'll show you, is the transmission tunnel and show you the problems that I'm having with that. All right, so some of the deals with the transmission tunnel, you can see big old gap here. I can stick more than my finger through it. It is sitting flush up against the bulkhead. The other problem is there's almost no gap in between the front of the gear shift lever and the plastic. That should be more centered up. It's going to have the shift gator is going to get all screwed up and everything like that. So what I'm going to do is there's lips on the bottom and there's lips on the front. I'm going to slice those lips down on both sides and the front, and hopefully give me a little bit flusher of a fit. There's also rubber stripping that'll go in there, like just weather stripping to keep the water and the road stuff out and all that kind of stuff. I did email the gentleman that makes them, Clark & Clark, the same guys that do the bonnet lift kits. They responded to me that very next day and gave me a nice long email about things to look at, and that was his recommendations to cut those lips down. So I don't think I'm going to do that tonight because I'm not in the mental position to do it, but I'll be looking at that hopefully for a solution. Putting the other piece of carpet in the kickboard. Sorry, that's such a horrible angle. The trick with this one is there's wires running in there, so it's going to make it a little difficult. I've glued the heck out of everything here, more glue than I would otherwise put on probably. So we're going to try to get that fit in there and see if I can't make it work with the wires. That piece is in. That was a real pain in the rear, especially the dip switch right here for the headlights. Just putting holes in and just hit and miss and a lot of cursing to find the holes, but I finally got them. And then getting the bolts started was pretty tricky as well. But you can see here it doesn't fit as well. I'm sure just placement of the sills and all that kind of stuff doesn't stick up as far, so I didn't need to trim up here like I did on the other side, but you can kind of see there it's not flush, and it's also got a pretty good gap. So all I'll do with this strip piece is just set it this way a little bit further, but then I think you're going to see that that gap there. I'm not quite sure how this big carpet piece goes down, so didn't play the transmission tunnel at all like I had mentioned, but I'm coming back tomorrow. I got the day off tomorrow, so I'll be back here in, I don't know, about 12 hours or so, hopefully, to get back to work. All right, got that piece of carpet in. It's starting to roll up a little bit on me, unfortunately, there at the front, but I'm not going to be too worried about that. Like, I think that big piece will cover a lot of that up. I got a little bit smarter with the clamps there and kind of get them set up. The plywood's not as stiff as it should be, but it should be okay. Went a little bit easier. I cut it down like I had mentioned, and everything went fine. Next up is the heel board piece that goes across vertically here. That's the last piece of carpet that gets glued Even though you might think that this big, huge piece here that goes underneath the seats and all gets glued, it doesn't. You can see this hole here and this hole here. Those are little screw holes. They get the screw cups, like the finishing cups that are on the arch pieces there. That gets the same thing. And then the stuff in the footwell gets snaps, literally button snaps. But anyway, I'm going to get the wheel arch in, and then this piece that goes flat across there, that's I'm not quite convinced on how that's going to go in yet. So that's what's up. Dry fit of the heel board's okay. It's a little short, unfortunately, on that far side there. But you also have to worry about the attachment points for the trailing arms. They stick out, but they're molded in, and believe it or not, they actually kind of fit. So now I'll go ahead and glue everything. Same process. The only thing I'm kind of worried about here is it is a long and thin piece, so it's going to be easy to buckle, and I'm just afraid that that's going to happen. But hopefully it'll be okay, and it'll go smooth. Now the other thing too is you have bolts under here that that kind of lock in. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that lock in the trailing arm. So they you got to make sure that they're tight and everything, because once you cover that up, you're going to have to cut the carpet if you want that thing out of there. So I torqued those down. I think it was like 27, 28 foot-pounds, something like that, whatever the workshop manual said. So I'll go ahead and get this cleaned up. It's pretty dusty and everything in here. I'm going to spray it down with some wax and grease remover just to kind of get that residual stuff up and some of the debris and stuff from cutting, and go for it. Before I forget here, I'm going to put some of the sound deadening stuff on the tunnel. Now, I don't want to interfere with the brake cable and all that, and obviously it's hanging over top of it right now. And I'm also going to have to kind of cut it to fit a little bit on the vertical portions if I decide to put it in there at all. But I want to do this before I put the carpet down, because it does overlap onto the tunnel. You can see also where I've kind of taped and put some paper off just to protect from the glue spray. So I'll go ahead and I'll cut this to fit here. Not real concerned that it looks pretty or anything like that. And just using a razor knife. All right, so that's down, good enough. So now I'll go ahead and put the glue down and the heel board piece down. So that went in okay. I had some bubbling where you see the clamps, so that's why they're sitting there. Not a perfect fit, but definitely good enough. So now the next portion here is to get this carpet on, which is this piece, and it kind of fits down in there, and you can see that it's trimmed and everything like that. And the deal is you've got this rubber gasket looking thing here, and what's supposed to happen is that's supposed to kind of fit over top of this lip, and I tried to dry fit it and it wasn't working out real well, so I don't know that I completely understand how it's supposed to go. But obviously I got to wait for this to dry. The sill inner carpet's dry, at least dry enough, so that's looking good over there. Again, still that little part where it kind of lifted up on me, but I'm not too worried about that. While I'm waiting for this heel board stuff to dry, I showed you the snaps for the rear panel there. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the snaps in. They're a little grungy. I'm going to clean them up. They just pop rivet in. I think I have pop rivets that are the right size. And I'm going to hold off on the fasteners. I didn't ask about that yet. Don't have the top in there, but you can see the bottom there, and just those little snaps pop riveted in, and they just snap into that just to provide some support and keep it in there. Now you can see here also that covered those screws in there like I thought they would, and then this has got to fit under and inside of that lip. So again, I'm going to ask before I get too far onto that. So that fits, that works. Now I'm going to try to get this bottom piece on here and see if that can't confuse me how that goes in. This piece is turning into a pain in the rear. Essentially what you do is fit it in, and then this piece turns vertical, if you can kind of see over there. And then I'm using my orange stick. Yay, orange stick. That just slowly feed the orange stick around that and kind of open the gap up that's inside there and just feed it around, and then using the mallet to just pound it on. I'm a little afraid that I might start to lift the carpet away from the heel board, but it seems like it's working. You can see the clamps over there. I put a piece of vinyl in here. Forgot about that. That's original, so that'll help with just some of the trim as it goes up there. And you can see also that I put that guy in, and that just sets in there. It's snapped in. There's no glue on this. And I also put the big carpet in. Now this is not fitting real well right now. You can see it's obviously a little long, which is fine. I'll have to trim that, but there's no edging down there. But there is edging on the sides, and it's there's some points where it shows through, but I think for the most part it's going to be okay. So I'm not going to bore you with showing you me frustrated and trying to pound this thing in, but hopefully it's a little long, so it's kind of bubbling a little bit, and I think it's a little deep towards the back, and I think it may be a little short on the width, so we'll see how it shows out when we get there. That's not working out too well. It's not going over the hump very good, and it's actually creasing back here, pretty heavy duty crease. So I'm going to leave it the way it is and try to develop some memory in the rubber strip here. As I try to go around the hump, it's starting to pull away from where I set it, so I kind of tried to anchor this side down and anchor the other side down and work my way towards the center, and it didn't really come out. Not real sure what I can do, if anything, with this. The instructions just say lay it over there and clip in that rubber piece, so I'm not too sure. Now what I'm going to do, I think, is play with the dashboard a little bit and see if I can get that to come in and get flushed up and clean that up, the underneath portion there, and then make the final decision, I think, on whether or not I intend to apply vinyl on the red portion here like it would be from the factory. I trimmed it up. I'm not real crazy with the way it's coming out. I'm not ready to make the decision yet on the dash. I think if I ultimately do decide to do that, this whole windscreen is going to have to come off again, because I don't think I'll get a good finish under there, and I may just say forget all of it and just leave it exactly the way it is right now and try to glue up the corners a little bit and not worry about it. Now what I'm going to do, I got the seat frame sitting right there. I'm going to start trying to line those up a little bit and then get this center portion of the carpet fitted up and trimmed up as best as I can, and continue on with that. So I've started to put in this center panel here, and it's already not really shaping up to fit real good across the hump, kind of like the back piece there. And I don't know if it's because it's too wide or what, but it's trimmed on the side, so I can't really cut the center. But anyway, what I've started to do is, hopefully you can see that little flap there. I've started to cut out the little spot for the bracket there. I'm going to cut in here and cut in here so it sits back a little bit. It fits forward really well. But here are the seat belt anchors, so I've got to poke some holes in to get those lined up. Thankfully, unlike the dip switch, I can get from the bottom through these, so I'll be able to poke a hole through the carpet from the bottom of the car to line all this stuff up, and then just have to fight with making a hole that's big. I need to get lock washers for those. I don't have any lock washers that are quite that big here. But anyway, that's what I'm going with, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So this side has come in pretty good, but now whatever fluff and everything that I have built in now, it's going to obviously start to now translate itself to the passenger side. So if there's extra carpet, like I think there is, it's going to start bunching up over there. So I'll switch sides here, get that frame lined up. I got to get these frames all cleaned up and re-lubricated and all that. So don't think that I'm going to leave it in there looking nasty because it'll eventually make the carpet rust. But I just wanted to put the seat back in so I could sit in the car for a little bit. Yeah, so now I'm kind of worried that this isn't going to come out real well, but we'll see. Got the other seat in and the seatbelt anchors and all that kind of good stuff. I have not put in the gaiter for the emergency brake. I don't think it fits very well. And I also continue to struggle with that center radio support tower. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Nothing's done. I haven't come through the transmission tunnel or anything like that yet. I'm just kind of playing around here and seeing. But the center piece of carpet is in, so that's going to stay. I'll eventually have to pull these seat frames back out to get them cleaned up, but I wanted to leave them in there for a couple days just to get some memory. The carpet didn't come out quite as bad as I was afraid that it would, but there's still spots where it's just not flush against the tunnel. Like here, you can see it's all kind of bound up and in here, and I see if I can relieve that and somehow so it's not lifting up like that, but it's okay, I guess, for government work. But that's that's that. So I decided to play with this a little bit before I left. So the tunnel here, and this is the arch for the radio tower. Now this is Dorothy's original, and I had bought this new one over here. I think I showed you that I spray painted it with a crinkle coat. Well, it turns out the thing is bent. The legs are skewed, so that's why the thing wasn't fitting. So I threw this one up here, and it's still, I wish the dash was a little bit taller, sticking up more to give me a little bit more clearance in here, but this definitely fits a lot better. And you can see there's still very little clearance in here, so I may have to shave some of this off that was previously done just so I can fit the carpet. But if you look down there, you can kind of see the gap between the bottom of the frame and the bottom of the support. Now I'm going to put 2 bolts in there, and that's going to cinch that down. Well, it's going to start crushing that plastic of the tunnel. So I think if I shave off the lip that's on the bottom and then shave off the lip that's on the front, I can get this thing forced forward far enough and get it down far enough that it's going to kind of fix my problem. So not going to do that today, but I think at least I have a path ahead. It makes me feel a little bit better about this. And I have much of a pain in the rear it's going to be to get on. I'm really worried about putting the holes in for the carpet there. That's going to suck. All right, everybody, that's all I got. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. The car show that was going to be Dorothy's coming out party has been canceled due to this COVID-19 stuff. So, obviously in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal, but I am a little bit disappointed. However, my local club's car show is late September, so maybe we'll wait until then. Can't put this bonnet off any longer. I'll be doing those in my next couple visits. So thanks for watching. Be careful, be safe, and be healthy. Cheers.